You thought Game of Thrones was about power, politics, and family drama? Not exactly. It's also a masterclass in game theory. Betrayals, strategic, alliances, temporary, revenge plots, mathematically terrible. Today we're breaking down how Game of Thrones is secretly a crash course in strategic thinking, featuring the prisoner's dilemma, zero-sum games, tit-for-tat, and the most chaotic version of Monopoly you've ever seen. Prisoner's Dilemma, Robb Stark versus Walder Frey. First up, the Prisoner's Dilemma. Two players, each has a choice, cooperate or betray. Mutual cooperation equals decent outcome. One betrays equals they win big, the other suffers. Both betray, everyone loses. It's basically the foundation of every group project, reality show alliance, and awkward workplace handshake. Now, replace players with Robb Stark and Walder Frey. Who's Robb Stark? Young, honorable, newly crowned king in the north, also tragically overconfident in people keeping their promises. Who's Walder Frey? Grumpy old lord with too many kids, a major inferiority complex, and one castle no one wants to visit. Ever. Wants respect. Settles for revenge. Robb promises to marry one of Frey's daughters, a political alliance sealed with a wedding. He marries someone else, for love. A romantic move. Also, a catastrophic strategic error in a world where weddings come with swords under the cake. So, he ditches the Frey girl. No text, no raven, just full-on ghost mode. I know I swore a blood oath to marry your daughter, but I met this healer in the woods and she, gets me. Meanwhile, Walder Frey is like, oh, no worries, totally chill, just come to my house for dinner, bring your mom, no reason. From a strategic perspective, Robb commits defection, the first betrayal in the prisoner's dilemma. He breaks the deal. That's the move that shatters cooperation. Walder Frey could have responded with diplomacy, a tense letter, maybe a moody silence. Instead, he slams the betray button so hard it sends wedding RSVPs to the afterlife. This isn't retaliation, it's a catered massacre with mood lighting. The message is clear: break your promise and I'll break your entire family tree. It's not strategy, it's deterrence via trauma. Overkill as warning. In textbook game theory, the best long-term move is something called cooperate until betrayed, then punish proportionally. It encourages fairness, repairs trust, keeps the game going. But in Westeros, there are no second chances, no follow-up meetings, just short-term survival and extremely high-risk wedding invites. It's not a repeated game, it's one shot. And if trust is fragile and vengeance is trending, then even one emotionally driven decision, like marrying for love, can reset the entire board, in blood. Zero-sum games, the Iron Throne. Let's talk about zero-sum games. That's when one person's win automatically means someone else's loss. There's no middle ground, no win-win. Just, you win, or you get stabbed at a wedding. In Westeros, power is a zero-sum game. And the Iron Throne? It's the ultimate prize. One throne, one ruler, no second place, no honorable mentions, no gold stars. Just total control. Or a humiliating death, and maybe a footnote in a bard's depressing ballad. Let's meet a few of the players who reached for that throne, and broke the system trying. First, there's Cersei Lannister. She plays the game like it's chess, and everyone else is a disposable pawn. When she's in charge, diplomacy means blowing up your enemies with wildfire, and drinking wine during the explosion. Then we have Daenerys Targaryen. Idealist turned icon turned accidental war criminal. She starts off freeing slaves and inspiring hope, then ends up roasting cities when the applause isn't loud enough. And of course, Joffrey Baratheon. Picture a spoiled teenager with absolute power and zero impulse control. Now, give him a crown, a crossbow, and a throne made of sharp objects. That's Joffrey. When he wins, civilization loses. Zero-sum logic turns everyone paranoid. You can't trust your allies, you're just waiting for them to betray you first. Every alliance is temporary. Every compliment is a trap. Every royal marriage is a polite way of saying, you first. In a zero-sum game, helping someone else is just helping your future competition. So, no one cooperates. They sabotage, they lie, they survive. You don't win by making the kingdom better. You win by being the last one standing when everyone else is dead, disgraced, or on fire. That's why the Iron Throne isn't a seat of power. It's a trap with a fancy name. The real prize isn't the crown. It's the chance to sit there alone, knowing you'll probably be next. Tit-for-Tat, Jon Snow, and the Wildlings. Tit-for-Tat is one of game theory's most famous and surprisingly simple strategies. It starts with a tiny spark of trust, enough to say, I'll match what you do. If you're kind, I'm kind. If you betray me, well then, I'm out. It's basically the you scratch my back, I scratch yours of strategy. And no one plays tit for tat quite like Jon Snow. Now, if you don't know, Jon's this brooding bro in a fur cape who grew up thinking he was a bastard and that the people north of the wall, called Wildlings or free folk, were basically giant angry neighbors with questionable hygiene. When Jon meets Mance Rayder, the king beyond the wall, trust is zero. They're basically saying, I don't trust you. Also, you smell weird. Instead of stabbing first and asking questions later, Jon puts down his sword and, wait for it, listens. And lo and behold, turns out people respond better when you don't try to kill them right away. Jon joins the Wildlings, saves them from a horde of ice zombies with blue eyes and bad attitudes, gets stabbed by his own crew, dies, which, honestly, rude, and is literally resurrected just to keep being the emotional support bro for both sides. Therapist energy. In a blizzard, with zombies. He's basically the guy who restarts the group chat after everyone left. Here's the game theory insight. In repeated interactions, like living in a frozen hellscape surrounded by zombies and hostile neighbors, tit for tat builds cooperation by rewarding good behavior and punishing betrayal, but just enough to encourage fixing mistakes, not burning bridges. The problem? Jon assumes everyone's playing the same game. But in Westeros, apparently, I won't stab you is less a promise and more like a flirtation. So, yeah, Jon's amazing at tit for tat, but sometimes his coworkers forget the rules and just stab him in the back, literally. Strategic deception, Littlefinger. Some players don't just play the game. They rig the board, swap the pieces, and convince you it was your idea all along. Enter Peter Baelish, also known as Littlefinger, master of secrets, subtle threats, and smug eyebrow raises. Now, if you haven't binge-watched Game of Thrones recently, or you rage quit during Season 8, fair. Here's the refresher. Littlefinger starts as a nobody, and climbs the ladder of chaos one whisper at a time. He doesn't lift a sword, just an eyebrow. He survives by playing everyone else against each other, like they're pieces in his personal soap opera. Game theory concept, asymmetric information. When one player knows more than the other, and weaponizes that knowledge for gain. And Littlefinger, he's basically a walking Wikipedia of everyone's dirty laundry. He tells one story to Sansa, another to Cersei, and somehow everyone thinks he's on their side, right up until they're mysteriously poisoned, married off, or pushed through a moon door. But here's the thing about secrets. Eventually, the people you've been playing catch on, and start comparing notes. His fatal mistake? Underestimating Sansa, the very person he thought he was grooming like a medieval Machiavellian internship. Sansa flips the board. Arya delivers the final checkmate, and Littlefinger finally runs out of pawns. Chef's kiss. Game over. Mutually assured destruction. Daenerys' final flip. When trust breaks down completely, the game changes. It stops being about winning. It becomes about not losing worse than everyone else. This is mutually assured destruction, the strategic equivalent of saying, if I can't have it, no one can. And also, I brought a dragon. Daenerys Targaryen doesn't start that way. She's a liberator. She frees slaves, topples tyrants, builds alliances. She wants to break the wheel, not scorch the earth. But then, she gets betrayed by her advisors, her lover, her Starbucks barista. Jon tells everyone he's the real heir. Tyrion keeps making bad calls. The bells of surrender ring in King's Landing. And Dany chooses the nuclear option, burn it all. When players believe everyone else is untrustworthy, they stop aiming for peace and start aiming to punish. If the game is rigged, you don't play to win. You play to break the board. But here's the kicker. When everyone adopts that mindset, when no one trusts, no one forgives, and everyone's just one betrayal away from going full fire and blood, nobody wins a throne, they just get ash. Coalition games. Tyrion the middleman. Not every game is winner takes all. Sometimes it's loser dodges execution. Welcome to the world of coalition games, where survival depends on building just enough trust between people who actively want to unalive each other. Enter Tyrion Lannister. No army, no dragons, definitely no loyalty points with his family. But he does have a talent for one thing, talking. Usually to 3 different world leaders in the same day. Sometimes while drinking? Okay, always while drinking. He negotiates with his sister, Cersei, Queen of Pettiness, advises Daenerys, Queen of Fire, and tries to keep Jon Snow, King of Brooding, from running headfirst into a sword. Tyrion's basically the group project member who does all the emailing, all the apologizing, and still gets blamed when it collapses. In coalition games, power isn't about strength, it's about relevance. You survive because both sides need you. You die when they don't. And for a while, Tyrion thrives. He's the guy who turns "we should unalive them" into "let's sleep on it." But eventually, his luck and his plans start falling apart. His queen gets fire happy. His sister never planned to help. His backup plans need backup plans. Coalitions are fragile. Your power lasts exactly as long as people still need you to translate chaos into compromise. And when they don't, it's not "thank you for your service." It's trial by dragon, learning from the chaos. So, what does Game of Thrones actually teach us about strategy? Not that you should betray your coworkers, stage a hostile takeover, or marry your cousin to gain land, unless your coworkers are Lannisters, in which case HR's already given up. No, the real lesson? Every power struggle is a game, and the rules? They don't stay fixed. They bend, shift, and occasionally get set on fire by a dragon mid-negotiation. Game theory helps us make sense of the chaos, not just on the battlefield, but in boardrooms, leadership teams, friend groups, even that one awkward group chat with your ex and mutuals. Because, let's be honest, you've met a boss who thinks they're Daenerys. You've met a coworker who's basically Littlefinger, but with email chains and calendar invites. And somewhere out there is a middle manager giving strong Tyrion energy, trying to keep the whole company from going full King's Landing. So, yeah, the costumes are medieval, but the strategies? Timeless. Drop your favorite Game of Thrones character in the comments. Who played the game best? Who fumbled the bag worse than Stannis? Smash that like button if your brain feels 10% nerdier, but 100% more prepared for office politics. And hit subscribe if you're into ideas that stick, figures that sketch, and kingdoms that fall because someone couldn't cooperate for 5 seconds. Ready for your next system update? Tap here. And remember, if you play the Game of Thrones, bring a strategy guide.